إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن للمتقين مفازا حدائق أعنابا وكواعب أترابا وكأسا دهاقا لا يسمعون فيها لغوا ولا كذابا جزاء من ربك عطاء حسابا صدق الله العلي العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين. I bear witness that without Allah there is no God. I bear witness that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, is the last, the final messenger of Allah, after whom no prophet old or new will come. And I begin in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. The Quran is a unique book. It's a special book. While it contains information that is to be found in so many other books before, and correct information, sometimes it corrects that information, it doesn't just repeat it. But the way the information is presented in the Quran is unique. It is not telling a story. It is not giving a history. It is a book of guidance. And guidance comes from not only ideas and concepts, rules and regulations, but ideas also come from learning the lessons of history. And so the Quran points out to us how it is written and how it is to be understood and interpreted. It tells us, for example, that you will find in its writings two things. One is basic information, clear-cut information that any and everybody, even children, can understand. But then there are certain allegories, there are certain metaphors, there are certain kinds of language that you have to interpret. And Allah says that He will reveal that information as time goes on. And that's why He sends down mujaddids to interpret the Quran. And He says also, وَرَاسِخُونَ فِي الْعِلْمِ, those who study the Quran, who study the language of the Quran and interpret it and be able to apply it. Now, these metaphors the Quran says, in one place, Allah says that I don't hesitate to use a metaphor, whether it is a mosquito or anything above that. So all of these things are explained in the Quran. Now, we also need to appreciate that the Quran gives us information of an existence that we don't know about. The existence that comes in the beyond. After we leave this world, there is an existence. It assures us of that. But how can we comprehend that existence when we know nothing about it? It's like telling a child, a fetus in the womb of the mother, what the world is like, what a mango is like. They wouldn't know. They have no sense, or their senses are not yet developed to be able to appreciate the world that is going to exist in after it is born. And similarly, we do not know what is there in life after death except what Allah tells us, and in order to communicate this to us, He uses metaphors, He uses ideas that we can understand and interpret. But those ideas are not only applicable to life after death. They are applicable in this world as well. We can interpret them in this world and apply them to our existence. And one of the things we need to appreciate and understand is how important these metaphors are. In the verses of the Quran that I've recited just a while ago, from chapter 78, An-Naba, I translate these words as follows. Indeed, those who manage risks are winners in walled gardens with grapes, and youthful colleagues and a cup flowing over. They do not hear within their senseless discourse or fake news. It is an award from your nurturer as a satisfactory prize. Now, this chapter of the Quran and some of these that follows it or included with it were revealed to the Prophet Muhammad very early in his career. And the Arabs are now given information about life and their behavior. They are not given instructions yet, too much instructions about the rituals of religion. That they should pray or fast or give charity. Well, give charity is also mentioned in some of these chapters. But the behavior is emphasized. And what is emphasized is that humans are created to work, to function, to do things. All of us have something to do. We all have some kind of work. And work doesn't only mean a job. We work when we speak to each other. We function in communication, in helping, in eating, in drinking. But we must know and we must realize that actions, every action of ours results in either a benefit or a harm. We can do something and it can benefit us or it can harm us. Now, let's take for example a person who is using a knife. That person can use that knife to cure someone. They can cut the skin in order to take out poisons if they are bitten by a snake or if they have to take out some kind of sting or whatever it may be. Or doctors can take out tumors or remove certain organs or parts of the body in order to save one's life. But then there are others who can use that same knife or one similar to it in order to kill someone, to harm and injure someone. So the Quran indicates to us that actions are based upon our behavior, and those actions can be beneficial or harmful. When we see, therefore, so much of crime in our community and society, it is because some human beings don't take responsibility for their behavior, that it will have an outcome or result. They don't know whether their behavior is good or bad. To them, it's the same. They kill a person, it makes no difference. They save a person, there's nothing in it for them because they do not or are not trained to understand right from wrong, that their actions will have a result, will have an outcome. It can harm them or harm others, or it can benefit them and benefit others. And so that is why the Quran emphasizes in one word what human beings need to utilize in their entire life. And that word is called taqwa. It is translated in many ways, usually in a religious terminology, as God-fearing, keeping one's duty, keeping away from harm, and piety, and so many other things that sometimes are even difficult to understand, if not to apply. But the word taqwa comes from the Arabic word waqa, which means to take protection. Waqina azabana, save us. To take any action that will save you from harm. In modern terminology, that is called risk management. That if you have a job to perform, there are certain risks associated with it. You begin at a certain time, and you want to end at a certain time, just as life is. We begin our life and we have to end it at a certain time. And in that project of life, or in any project that we are doing, there are certain risks. There are certain things that can prevent us from achieving our goal, from winning the race if it is, or winning or succeeding in an examination, whatever it may be. Succeeding in marriage, succeeding in our jobs, in our interviews, whatever it may be. There are certain expectations, and we all want to win. We all want to be successful in whatever we are doing. So the Quran tells us that risk management is needed, that you need to take the necessary steps to prevent your failure. If a child does not study, for example, if a person does not take the necessary precaution, you may have a construction going on, and then the workers get sick, or rain falls, there's a storm or flood, or there are so many things that come. Or you're building a house and you need to do the electrical at a particular time, and then you have to put the workers who are doing other things, they have nothing to do and you still have to pay them. So you work out these schedules and times in order to minimize whatever harm and injury or cost that it may incur. So the Quran points out to us that taqwa is looking at every aspect of our life, in any project we are doing, anything we are doing, and seeing what is necessary to be done in order that we may be successful, and to avoid anything that could prevent us from being successful. For example, a child writing an exam may have to wake up the entire night. They may have to sleep earlier so they can spend the night in study. And so many other ways that they have to make sacrifices or do certain things that will be necessary for them to gain success. But one of the things we understand and appreciate is that human beings do not exist by themselves. We need each other. And we do exist in groups. We can ask ourselves the question that when people meet in groups, whether in the mosque, whether on the playground, whether they are children at school, in the job area, what do they talk about? Some talk about politics, some talk about family matters. It depends on the environment. Some talk about old times, some talk about new plans. There are groups and gangs that even talk about crime and how they're going to steal or take someone's property. They may talk about business and so many other things. People in groups talk about several things. And they expect that they will have a reward, they will have a benefit, without realizing whether their behavior and their actions are really good or bad. And so the Quran points out to us, in this particular verse where it says, and in other places as well, that there are rewards for your action. You will get rewards for your behavior, but in your behavior, you must take every precaution to do what is right. You may make errors and mistakes, that is human, to err is human. But you have to make every effort to do that which is right. And so by telling us here about gardens and grapes and so on, it indicates the kind of rewards that we get when we perform our responsibilities, our duties in a responsible manner. And these metaphors are given to let us understand that in this world, we can have the enjoyment of the fruit of our actions, even if we don't know what is there in the hereafter, although the Quran tells us that they are similar. There's a likeness between the rewards of this world and the rewards of the hereafter. The things we suffer in this world, there's a likeness in the hereafter when we do wrong. The things that we do good in this world, there's a likeness in the hereafter of the rewards. And mention are made, first of all, of gardens, hadaika. If you notice that almost every major city and some even smaller cities have gardens in them. You have the botanical gardens here, you have Kew Gardens, you have gardens all over the world. You have Central Park in New York, and in almost every country of the world there are gardens. In Kashmir there's the Shalimar Gardens, and there's so many gardens in castles and houses, and people like even gardening in their own homes, whether it is fruit trees, whether it is flowers to give beauty to the surroundings. We know how gardens, or at least doing some kind of gardening, will enhance the beauty of a home. It gives us peace, it gives us rest. In fact, I was noticing in the English language that garden has few, if not no synonyms at all. Even though in the Quran there are different words for garden. Here it is hadika, the plural hadaik, there's jannat, and all of these have different meanings. But garden is garden. Sometimes we say wall garden, sometimes people call paradise a garden. In fact, it is said that when human beings were created, they were created in a garden, the Garden of Eden. But garden is symbolic of rest, relaxation. In fact, it is said that leisure is sweet when it follows work well done. That when you work hard, you like to relax. And some places people have special gardens they go in order to have that enjoyment. So the Quran tells us the reward of our actions is such that after we perform our actions, we will find rest and relaxation. That's a natural outcome of doing good. If you do evil, you sometimes don't, or most often, don't rest and relax. You're always watching to see if the police are coming, if you're going to be arrested, or whatever it may be, you're in fear. You're wondering what can happen to you. You're always looking behind your back. When you work hard and you do things, you can relax and enjoy oneself with rest. The Quran also mentioned grapes. Some translate the word as vineyards. But grapes here is mentioned because its juice gives energy. Now some people take grapes and they make alcohol, which takes away our energy. In one place in the Quran, it tells us that Allah makes from between the dung and the blood milk, which is beneficial to human beings. But human beings take fruits where they utilize it for health, but they also make intoxicants. So Allah gives us something that is nourishing from even the worst things. We take the good things and make something that can affect our brains and our minds and our behavior, as we'll probably see in the festival that is upcoming in a short while. And then the Quran speaks about youthful colleagues. It speaks about garden and grapes. So it gives us the different results that we get when you do the right thing and you perform your duties and you know you take responsibility for your action. A child that writes the examination, have studied hard, they will sit and be able to relax and have leisure while they await their results. One who has not done so will always be worried, will be afraid, ashamed that I may fail, how I'll face my parents and my friends. So the Quran gives us that, and the individual who works hard will find energy in doing something more, continuing. And then the Quran points out to us colleagues of the same mind and thinking alike. As I said, people meet in groups. When you're in groups, you attend to a group because you think like the persons in that group. If you're playing sports, the person who is playing football will not go and join with a person who is playing cricket or some basketball or so, unless they like that sport as well. We tend to, as they say, birds of a feather flock together. People of religious mind tend to meet with each other. People of business mind, they have chambers. People of chambers of commerce, you have labor unions where laborers would meet and discuss their plans and ideas. And you have so many different groups. As I said, even gangs will have people who will, young people who will come there and try to train in pickpocketing and shooting with guns or using knives or so. People practice in wartime how to use rifles and weapons and all these things. So the Quran tells us, in telling us here that when you do good, there are certain rewards. How does it impact upon ourselves? We have a peace of mind and enjoyment. We have energy. We link ourselves with people who have the same mind and they think alike. As in our Jamaat here, we are members of the Ahmadiyya movement. We think in a different way than people in other places or other churches or even other mosques. And the Quran says you will have also youthful colleagues. And youthful represents here that we will always have fresh ideas developing the spiritual senses. Now, we must remember that just as we have physical senses in this world and we satisfy them. We have eyes, we like to see beautiful things. We have ears, we love to hear music and other beautiful sounds. We have mouths, we like to taste things which are delicious. And so on with all the different senses. Similarly, we have spiritual senses, where we can see, and we would want to see things which are good. If we are looking ahead for our lives, we want to see that which is nice and that which is good. If a person is building a house, they would like to build a house and they have a vision in their mind. Most companies also have what is called a vision statement. What do you see? How do you see yourself 2 years, 5 years from now? What it is we want to achieve as a Jamaat, as a community, as an organization? All of these things we would like to really know. And so the Quran points out to us that you will always have fresh ideas developing the spiritual senses. And then it speaks of a kasan de haka, an overflowing cup. And we talk of a person and says his or her cup is overflowing, is flowing. Meaning that they have so much of benefit. And so the Quran summarizes the joys and the rewards that we'll have when we do good in these two simple words, that our cup overflowing. But it also points out to us that the kind of enjoyment we have is such that there is no nonsense in talking. It is always something constructive, ideas that are there which are going to be beneficial. As those of you who would have attended our Jalsa last week would realize that the discussion that we had was something that would be beneficial, especially to the young people. And there are no fake news. And then the Quran concludes by saying that all of these things and more, because others are mentioned in other places in the Quran, all of these things are jaza min rabbika atawan hisaba. They are in fact a just and satisfactory prize. The awards and the rewards that you get when you do the right thing, when you contribute to a good cause, when you help the cause of human beings, when you do things together as a team with like-minded people. I often say sometimes when I go to groups or Jamaats or others that I come here to row the boat, not to rock the boat. There are some people who go into a group and they will argue and they will quarrel and they will object and they will find fault with this one, the person or the ideas and so on, and they disrupt the entire proceedings that are there so that you're unable to really go forward. The Quran says no. If everyone does the right thing and everyone takes necessary precautions, everyone manage their risk, you will find everything will be smooth sailing. We are seeing that in the project that we are having here with our Chinese queue, where everybody is on board. Everybody wants to contribute. Everybody wants to do something, no matter how little, young as well as old, to contribute in every way. And that is what gives success. Not so much the monetary gains, but the satisfaction that as a Jamaat and as a community, we have an enjoyment in that we help each other in helping, in doing things that will improve the house of Allah, the house of God. We do it for Allah's sake, as the Quran says. Barakallahu lana wa lakum fil Quran al-Azim. Wa nafa'ana wa iyyakum bil ayati wa zikril hakim. Innahu ta'ala jawadun kareem. Malikun barrur raufur rahim. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم انصر من نصر دين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم واجعلنا منهم اللهم اخذل من خذل دين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم ولا تجعل منهم إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون اذكروا الله يذكركم وادعوه يستجب لكم ولذكر الله أكبر